The Buffalo Bills firing their head coach, Rex Ryan, yesterday. I think they really wanted to avoid the circus-like atmosphere, Zach. The other thing regarding the timing of this, why yesterday, why not wait until the season is over? I don't think the Pagulas wanted to go into that game having to deal with, Rex going up against his former team, and Todd Bowles may or may not get fired on Monday too. I think he really could get fired, to be honest with you. And so that would have been fun for us to watch and to cover, and for any of the fans who may pay like $10 to go to that game. But I think the Pagulas wanted to avoid that, so they just decided yesterday enough is enough. We're going to nix Rex Ryan, and out he goes. We're joined now by Chris Berman, legendary sports anchor from ESPN, obviously going back, I think, to the inception, Boomer, right? 1979, many, many years, and we appreciate a few minutes here in Albany on ESPN Radio. Good morning, Chris Berman.
Well, good morning. Happy holidays to everybody in the capital area. My college roommate years ago was from Amsterdam, so I do have, although you weren't... Is this Zach right here? Because you weren't born then, I think. But,
I was not. I was not born at that time. No, I was not.
Boom,
no, neither was anyone else in the studio. But that's okay. But
I'm the old guy.
Of course, at Saratoga and hanging out up there, and anyway, yeah, I was there at the start. I was 24 in 1979, and. So far it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it really has. Hey, Boom, I got a story for you. I'm the old guy. I came from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and I graduated high school in 79, went to Penn State. I worked, and I'm going to throw this out there. I don't know if you know him or not. I think you probably do. He's now retired, and I was looking for him when we came to visit your studios a few months ago. Mike Matters. Do you remember the name?
Wonderful person. Yeah. I see Mike from time to time. A wonderful person. Was one of our, when we were at Zach, about 200 people, now we're whatever we are, 7,000 worldwide. But Mike was on the assignment desk, worked forever. He just retired a couple of years ago. A wonderful person, he and Peggy, and made a big impact on our place.
Well, we
all felt like pioneers a little bit back in the 80s.
No doubt. And Boom, he was the sports director at WTAJ. I was the weekend sports anchor. He was the sports director. I actually replaced him when he left, and they called it Sports Matters with Mike Matters.
I'm going to write this down and tell him.
You got to tell him Roger Weiland said hello. I was so hoping he was still employed when we made a tour of your place a few months ago. But anyway, we appreciate a few minutes. The only other question I have, Boom, before I get into the Buffalo Bills situation, how many times did Zach call and leave you a message?
No, he was great. Zach, one around Thanksgiving, which I meant to return, it just kind of slipped through the cracks. No, he was... Hey, listen, I got advice, and I think it's true in any profession. When I was at college at Brown, I got advice from the veteran sportscaster in Providence, and I give it to every young person. Don't be afraid to be a little bit pushy, but don't be a pain in the you-know-what.
There you go. All
right?
There you go.
He was not the latter. He was the former, and I respected that. And here we are.
There you go. All right, let's get to the news of Rex Ryan. Your thoughts about the firing of Rex Ryan. Didn't even quite make it to the end of 2 years.
Well, first of all, you always hate that, 1 week to go, what does that accomplish? I mean, I don't know. But they would have done it next week, apparently. I'm not on the inside of this one because the decision was the Pagulas all the way. Terry and Kim, and I don't, they didn't, nor should they have consult me on it. So I'm, 2 years is a short hook, so I'll defend Rex on that part, but you can see that if the area of expertise is the defense, a giant, you know the facts, 200 yards twice, the Pittsburgh game, Le'Veon Bell, I think he's still running, and that Thursday night game, which I went to, that was when Bruce Smith had his number retired. The Jets, Fitzy looked, like Tom Brady. So I've just said 4 games, and that's off the top of my head without looking at anything. So I don't like that it's a week to go. But I guess if you were certainly banking on that part of the ball to carry to a serious playoff contention, which, as you well know, the Bills haven't, the only ones not this century to make it. But the good news is there's time. A 21st century goes a long time. So, being funny. So I get it. I just don't like to see it happen before the end of the year, but you certainly can get it. Now, where they go, maybe they're looking at Miami. Adam Gase comes in there and look what he does. I don't know. Of course, it's deeper than that. Who's the quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. They got a lot of decisions to make.
I thought it was interesting and not interesting, I'm not surprised. I mean, I thought Tom Coughlin still really should be coaching the Giants. I thought that whole thing went down and maybe a little bit unfairly to him. They made all those changes on defense, and now they're pretty darn good with McAdoo running the show. But Tom Coughlin interviewed with them in the offseason about a consultant position, and I am reading and hearing this morning that his name is very much in the mix. What do you think about Tom Coughlin as the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills?
Well, you hate to talk while the body's warm, but there's no better human being than Tom Coughlin. I know him personally. Obviously, I've known him for a long time. He's a young 70 as far as energy and mind and certainly motivation. He should be a candidate for any opening if he wants to do it. Now, deep down, only Tom knows whether, the grind of being a coach, a head coach, is unbelievable. We think whatever jobs we have, that we have it tough. Do you want to do that at 70? Now, he's like, in my mind, he's young 60s. The age is just a number. But he certainly would be credible. There's nobody more credible than Tom Coughlin. 2 Super Bowls and stands for old-time football, which the Bills could use a little of.
Boom, I have to ask you about your relationship with Buffalo. I know that you inducted Ralph Wilson Jr. in. I saw you at the Bruce Smith honor this past year. What is it about Buffalo that has always drawn you toward it and to the kinship that you have with it now?
Well, I'll give you the medium-level answer. The kinship, I can answer that in a sentence or two. I got to know that team in '88. In training camp, that particular team on their way up. And that was the team that came from nowhere and lost the AFC Championship game to the Bengals. And then, as we well know, 90, 91, 92, 93 in the Super Bowl. I was 33 in 1988, and that's young. So essentially, I'm their age still. And I fell in love with the team. I picked them for the Super Bowl. Everybody laughed at me, and they were really close. They were coming off a losing record. And the players, Bill Polian, Marv Levy, the city, Buffalo is Albany is really the same way. You show a little loyalty rather than dump on it, and they'll show you their homes, their restaurants, I have, key to the city, the front door, the back door, and the garage door opener at this point, but I didn't do it to be beloved. I stood by the team. The team made me look good. Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Steve Tasker. You can go to Darryl. All these guys are my personal friends because I was, like I said, 33, and they were in their 20s. So it was easy. And it wasn't as media, that, no, you're coming out with us, or you're hanging with us, or whatever. And now why I had an affinity for them is I'm an AFL guy. I grew up football-wise at Shea Stadium watching Joe Namath, and that's the reason I do this. Fell in love with football, but I have a soft spot for every old AFL team. And the first champ that I remember were the Bills in the rock pile. They were the champ of the league when I became old enough. We got tickets, and Namath was rookie, 65, actually the year before, but they were kind of good in my mind. You know what I'm saying? And I understand what Buffalo is. And these are hard-working. Don't ask for much. Just show them a little love. It's not that hard. So now I've given you a long answer, and it's just worked. It's just... And I'm always an underdog guy anyway. You notice most of the teams that I kind of, quote, cheer for, if that's the right word, are smaller markets. Here are the Chargers. Earlier, you don't remember it, but the Bucks. I like the Seahawks a lot. I'm just throwing out. They're smaller. Anybody can root for a big market team. Show a little love, something on TV nobody else is, and the whole thing worked. But the fact is that every reunion of that team, I'm at, and they made me feel like a member of it, and the city made me feel like I grew up there, and that's That's in my career, that would be one of the most amazing things that happened to me, that people ask if I'm from Buffalo, just like you did. It's you don't get into this business necessarily to do that, and my heart will be warm till the day I pass away with that relationship.
Time with ESPN's Chris Berman here on Big Board Sports, ESPN in Albany. And Chris, the Giants train here for 16 years, so we got a lot of Giant fans here in the Capital Region. Have you seen enough substance from the G-men right now that would lead you to believe they could make some noise in the postseason?
Well, here's the thing, and I'm sure you and your listeners have discussed it at will. You know, the defense that they pay, as you know, usually win in March and you lose in the fall. You know, we've seen Tampa, Miami, the Eagles. I mean, you could name every, quote, winner of March, and they're losers in the season. So the defense is to the contrary. I mean, everybody they signed has helped make this a really, I'm not even looking at rankings, you know, a top 10 playoff-level defense. Is it Lawrence Taylor and Carl Banks? Of course not. But in this day and age, there are very few, well, just look no farther than Denver or Seattle in the last few years. Are they that? No. But I don't see one at the moment. So nobody is markedly better than them on defense. Now, the question is, the offense is a head-scratch. But Eli Manning has won 2 Super Bowls, and you're not really worried about him, and the games won't be too big. So what I like about the Giants' chances is they have a high ceiling on offense for, let's just say, 3 NFC playoff games. Let's leave the last one out of there, you know? So I don't think it's, this is Houston. They don't have any offense at all. I don't see that. Do you? I mean, on paper, that they can't run, but I mean, they can be above average in offense with what they have, and if their defense is a playoff-level defense, and they've proven they can beat Dallas, although I'd hate to have them try to do it 3 times in a row, although they're heading there eventually. Yes, here's the one thing, though. Again, it's a long... In the NFC, let's put the AFC aside for a minute. Look at the quarterbacks in the NFC that are in there. All right, now I know Dak is a rookie, but that team is loaded. All right, but you can look at all the other teams. Matt Ryan, he knows what he's doing. If Matt Stafford gets in, he knows what he's doing. Russell Wilson, he knows what he's doing. Eli Manning, he knows what he's doing. Aaron Rodgers, he sure knows what he's doing. So I know Washington may get in, but I mean, there's my point. Every team, if you put Dallas over here for a minute, has a quarterback that you're not really worried about. I know Eli's had better years, but if I'm a Giant fan, are you really worried that the moment's too big for him? You know better than that, right? So yes, they have a chance to go somewhere. To get to the Super Bowl, I'd be surprised. Only because what I just told you about what all the other quarterbacks are capable of answering. I don't know if you see it the way I see it, but that's how I see the G-men.
How about a quick thought on the AFC playoff picture, Chris? Who would you take to make it to the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots or the field?
Good question, because it's certainly set up for New England to host 2 games. I know they haven't done that, beaten Miami yet, and they haven't won down there in a couple of years, but they're not going to lose this. So who are the teams that you really have to answer the question, who are the teams who could come into New England and beat them? The Baltimores of the world are out. So obviously Ben Roethlisberger, but you say that, and New England carves up that defense even when they were great, and they're not great anymore. Defense. They're certainly capable with that offense. Could the Chiefs come in there? Maybe. Now, that was my pick before the season, Chiefs-Seahawks. Okay, so I'm not getting off it. They're both in. Neither Super Bowl team is in there. So if you get your August teams in there, you stick with them. But the Chiefs went in there last year and didn't quite have enough ammunition, and they may be kind of the same. Other than that, hard to see Houston, hard to see Miami coming in there and doing it, and Oakland with McGloin changes that. So I think, to your question, on 2 days before, a couple days before New Year's. I think New England has a better chance in the field, and Pittsburgh and Kansas City are the teams that may come in there in a row, or the other way around, or whatever, and be the only ones to beat them. How do you see it? I mean, it's going to be hard to see them beaten in Foxborough.
It certainly is, Boom, and I agree with you. I would take New England over the field. But one more question from me, Boom. I have to ask you this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't. I feel like with great all-time athletes like Kobe or Tim Duncan or even Tom Brady right now, when they get into their later 30s, they always get the question, hey, how much longer are you going to do this? Is next year going to be your last year? And they kind of get asked ad nauseum. But you've been at ESPN since day one, and every other face around you has changed, but you've kind of been the stalwart there. But it is great respect that I ask you, how much longer do you plan on doing what you do?
Well, probably in the capacity that you're seeing me, not very much longer, but that doesn't mean not, I'm not going anywhere yet. I still love it. I'm only 61, or I'll be 62, in the spring, which I love what I do, and I think I'm okay at it still. And I enjoy hanging out with people that enjoy watching sports. I mean, whether it's, in person or whether it's through the TV screen. So we'll see what happens after this year. I mean, things will probably change, but I'm not going away in mothballs, and we won't have me in formaldehyde like a butterfly we used to have as kids. You know what I mean? So we'll see, and it's. At 24, you don't necessarily sign up for what happened to me and to this place, and you're hoping that the place would last a few years and I'd get some experience and it would be good, and maybe cable TV will be okay, I know that sounds crazy now with 2,000 stations, but you put it in perspective and it's kind of amazing. So we'll see. We don't have the answer. I'm not really dodging it. The answer, may come here soon, but the ride that I've been on so far is good, and I'm not necessarily trying to get out of the car.
Well, hey, listen, Boom, you've had a phenomenal run, and here's one that hope it continues for a while longer. You've been phenomenal. We really appreciate Chris taking a few minutes to join us here on your affiliate in Albany.
Well, it's nice to talk to everybody up there. You're not that far from where we are here in Connecticut, and we appreciate the loyalty and through the years, Albany and that, Schenectady and Troy and everything, and Amsterdam. I got to throw that in there again. It's always been kind of cable very early, and hope the winter's not too harsh up there. That's where the 3 hours of drive between where I am and you are can be a real difference, can it?
No doubt about that. No doubt.
So hang in there, and good luck to the G-men, and heaven help the Bills and the Jets.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate a few minutes.
Nice talking with everybody.
All right, good talking with you.